Please subscribe. It helps a lot.
The road bent in a way I didn't remember. It pitched me toward the edge of the city, east, where the air grew thinner and the light lost warmth. Portland had always been gray, but Centennial made gray feel like something sentient, like it knew how to settle on you in layers. I turned off the street and into the lot where the trailer still sat, just beyond the chain-link fence lined with dying vines. Same rusted mailbox. Same cracked Virgin Mary statue sinking into the moss. It still smelled like her the moment I stepped in. Old lavender talc, heating coil dust, canned green beans. The scent knocked something loose, something that throbbed behind my eyes. I didn't cry. That piece of me dried up long ago. Taylor stood in the doorway of the back bedroom, thin, barefoot, wearing the blue hoodie I used to sleep in when we were kids. His hair had gotten longer, his eyes lit up, wide and glassy. "Brad," he said, smiling too hard, voice soft like always. "You came back." I opened my arms and he stepped into them like no time passed at all. The inside hadn't changed. Same peeling linoleum, same slumped couch where Gran watched soap operas and smoked menthols through her oxygen tube. The shelf of ceramic angels lined the kitchen counter, their heads tilted, wings chipped, eyes forever lifted toward ceilings they'd never reach. Dust made halos on every surface. Taylor made us tea, pouring hot water into mugs that said #1 grandma and weird but awesome. He sat across from me, legs tucked under him like a child. "I kept everything how she liked it," he said. "I can tell." I stirred sugar into the tea but didn't sip. The spoon clicked against the ceramic like a metronome. "She still talks sometimes," Taylor said, and looked toward the back hallway. "Mostly in dreams." I didn't ask. I let it pass. The kitchen TV crackled to life on its own. Static, no channel. I reached for the remote, turned it off. Taylor frowned. "It does that now, since before." "Before what?" He tilted his head. "Before he came back." I stared. "Who?" He shrugged like I should know. Then he just said, "Him." I didn't move. My hand froze midair. The word hit me like a whisper from a dream I couldn't remember but instinctively feared. I said, "Taylor, what are you talking about?" "He misses you," he said. "He said you forgot him, but I told him you'd remember." Something stirred in my chest. Not recognition, more like interference. A static line across a mental screen. I pressed the heel of my hand to my forehead. "You all right?" he asked, eyes big and wet. "You're pale." "I'm fine," I lied. "Just tired." We sat in silence. The kind that isn't peaceful, the kind that grows roots in the room, wraps around your ankles, waits. Somewhere down the hallway, one of the old radios buzzed on and played half of an old Patsy Cline song before dying again. That night, I lay in the same room where I used to write bad poems and read by flashlight. Same window, same rickety fan. Outside, the park groaned like it had lungs. You don't notice the sounds of this place until you've been away a long time. Rain pinging on tin, wind sliding along aluminum siding, dogs barking like they're warning someone off. Taylor slept on the pullout in the living room. I could hear him humming, off-key and low, a lullaby Gran used to sing. I closed my eyes and saw flashes. A boy at the foot of my bed, once. Pale, unblinking. A blackness in his eyes so deep it didn't reflect light. I thought I imagined it. We were always scared of made-up things, me and Taylor, weren't we? I pressed my face into the pillow and waited for sleep. It didn't come. Not really. The first dream came the second night. I was inside the trailer, though everything looked slightly off. A wrong kind of stillness hung in the air, like the quiet right before an electrical outage. I turned toward the window and saw him there. His skin gleamed, pale as milk, stretched too smooth over the bones of his face. The black eyes didn't blink. No whites. No depth. Just darkness that pulled at something in my stomach. His lips moved, whispering words I couldn't hear. The glass between us fogged with his breath. I stood frozen, mouth dry. My heart didn't race. It stalled. When I woke up, the window beside my bed was smeared with condensation from the outside. A single fingerprint trailed down the middle. I didn't move for several minutes. I stared until the sun rose behind the clouds and the warmth finally broke through my skin. At breakfast, Taylor poured cereal into mismatched bowls. He wore the same hoodie again, sleeves pushed to his elbows. He didn't look up when he spoke. "He cried when you left." I didn't answer. I didn't need to ask who. Taylor glanced at me sideways. "You forgot him. That's why it hurts." I let the silence spread. I spooned cereal and let it go soggy in my mouth. The radio on the counter fizzed in and out of signal, playing a song I recognized but couldn't name. The voice on it sounded younger than it should have, like someone pretending to be human. "I didn't forget," I finally said. "I just buried it." Taylor's spoon clinked against his bowl. "He never buried you." I found the journal in a plastic bin under my old bed. Inside were my sketchbooks, broken pencils, a lighter shaped like a bullet, and a notebook with duct tape down the spine. I flipped through the pages, drawings of eyes, fragments of poetry that made me wince. Then I found the entry. My handwriting, looser than now, slanted and unsure. "He kissed me when I was sick, said I was his, said Taylor and Gran would always be safe." I closed the journal slowly. My chest ached in a dull, foreign way, like someone else's wound had settled inside me. That evening I stepped outside for air. The sky boiled low and colorless above the park. Rain came in thin curtains. Across the road, a figure stood at the edge of the lot. Small, still. I moved forward 2 steps before realizing it wasn't him. The eyes were wrong. The posture was wrong. Feral, like something hungry wearing a child's shape. The kid tilted his head too far, the way owls do. I didn't wave. I didn't speak. I backed up, step by step, until I reached the trailer door and locked it behind me. Later, through the living room window, I watched another crawl along the outside wall, arms bent at sharp angles, hands slapping softly against the siding like wet leaves. Taylor watched with me, face blank. "They started showing up more when Gran got sick," he said. "He kept them away." "Why didn't you leave?" I said. "This place isn't safe. Never was." He looked at me, and something flickered behind his eyes. "Why? They don't want me. They never wanted me. It's you. You're the one who got away." At night, I lay awake and let memories edge back in. I remembered the way he'd appear in mirrors, not as a reflection but beside me. His voice never matched his mouth. It came through the walls, through the vents, from inside me. At 15, I called it love because I didn't have another word. He told me I was seen. He told me I was his. The kiss wasn't warm. It burned without heat, like pressure in a deep part of the ocean. I couldn't breathe right for a day after. But I never told anyone. Except Taylor saw. He always saw. He changed after that. Pulled back. Started looking at me like I'd done something cruel. Taylor slept lightly now. His feet twitched under the blanket. I sat at the table and read that journal entry over and over until the words blurred. Through the kitchen window, I caught a glimpse of movement in the dark. A shape. Thin. Watching. I wasn't sure anymore which of us was being haunted. The sound came first. Not a knock, not a crash. Something softer, worse. Fingernails, dozens of them, tracing lazy circles on glass. I pulled the curtain back a sliver. 4 of them stood outside, faces tilted, mouths parted. Their eyes were unblinking holes, absorbing the porch light without returning anything. Beyond them, more emerged from the fog. Some crouched, some crawling, all waiting. Taylor pressed himself against the wall, arms wrapped tight around his chest. He didn't cry. He wasn't that kind of afraid. His fear ran quieter, deeper. They always knew he was weaker now, Taylor said, voice barely there. They've been waiting. I turned the locks on the windows, pushed the table against the front door. My hands trembled but didn't stop. "What do you mean, weaker?" Taylor sat on the floor, cross-legged, like a kid in a timeout. He stared at the angel shelf. When Gran got sick, I didn't know what else to do. I asked him to come back. I thought maybe if he did, you would too. He looked up at me then. His eyes glistened. I didn't know it would hurt him. Outside, one of them started tapping a rhythm on the kitchen window. 4 beats, then silence, then again. Like a code. My stomach twisted. You called him back into something that feeds on him, I said. I didn't mean to, Taylor said. But I didn't know how to be here alone. Something thudded against the back wall. The lights flickered. The radio turned on again, playing nothing but breath. When he entered the trailer, the air folded. It wasn't a door that opened. It was the shadows themselves. He stood in the living room, pale as ever, tall now, older than I remembered but not aged. His eyes were still black, still empty, but softened around the edges. No longer hungry. He looked at Taylor first, then at me. I thought you forgot me, he said. His voice was wind through leaves, soft, close, but impossible to locate. I tried, I said. I didn't, Taylor whispered. He smiled, and it hurt to see it. I loved you both. But this world, it's wrong for Taylor. Wrong for what waits outside. I stepped between them without thinking. What do they want? He didn't blink. To finish what I stopped. One of the things outside screamed, a sound too low to be human and too bitter to be animal. It scraped through my teeth. I can't hold them back anymore, he said. This is their place now, their feast. I looked at Taylor, then back at him. You said you loved him, he nodded. I do. Then let him go. He didn't move. I can't leave. This is my kingdom, my grave. I was buried here before I was born, but he wasn't. He can still leave. I stepped closer. So help me save him. He looked tired, faded around the edges, like light bleeding through paper. He reached for my hand, cold, gentle. I kept you safe because I loved you, he said. I kept him safe because you loved him. I felt it then. The moment he chose to disappear, when I was 15 and promised to stay. He didn't haunt me. He protected me, until I broke the pact. I knelt beside Taylor. You have to go with me, I said. You can't love something that wants to keep you locked in one place, no matter what it promises. Love isn't meant to trap you. He shook his head. He saved us. All those years. I know, I said. But now he's dying. And they're not like him. They don't care why you're here. They'll take everything. Taylor's eyes filled. What if they follow us? I looked at the boy who used to protect us, the boy who was more shadow than skin now. They won't, I said. He won't let them. Taylor reached out and touched his shoulder. I'm sorry, he said. The black-eyed boy smiled one last time. I know. And then he turned away. The lights died. The trailer went silent. The tapping stopped. We didn't wait for sunrise. I grabbed Taylor's hand, pulled him through the kitchen, and kicked the back door open. Fog pressed against us like wet cloth, cold and thick. Every breath tasted like the inside of a freezer, sharp and sour. They were waiting. Some crouched behind the swings. Some stood half submerged in puddles. All eyes turned as we stepped out. Nothing moved at first, until one of them twitched, then another, and the rhythm began again. Their bodies jerked forward in unison, like something had yanked them by the bones. Taylor stumbled beside me. I didn't let go. He appeared at our side without sound, walking barefoot across the gravel like the earth loved him too much to resist. The fog bent around him, slowed under his feet. The others hissed, a sound too small for how much fear it carried. He didn't look at me at first. His eyes tracked the children, the broken ones, the ones with hunger stitched into their skin. I can give you a path, he said, voice like breath caught in a window crack. But only for a moment. We ran. Through the lot, past trailers sagging under mildew and memory. Doors slammed, lights blinked out. Somewhere, a television screamed static. The feral ones came faster. They moved in shutters, cutting across the fog like blades. One reached for Taylor's leg. I kicked it hard, didn't wait to see where it landed. We passed our old school bus stop, the burned tree stump where we buried a kitten once, the ditch where Taylor broke his ankle when he was 9. The past tried to hold us here. Then, at the park's exit, the fog cleared. He stood between us and the road, not blocking, waiting, his eyes locked on mine. "You'll forget again," he said, not unkindly. "That's what leaving does." I stepped forward, close enough to feel the cold halo around him. He reached out, rested a hand against my cheek. The air dimmed. "Don't forget me," he said. I never did. His lips brushed mine. No heat, no breath, no hunger. Like ice remembering fire. It didn't ache this time. It felt like goodbye. Then he turned, stepped back into the mist, and the children followed him. We didn't speak until the highway straightened out. Taylor stared out the window, hoodie pulled over his head. The sky was paling, one thin ribbon of yellow smeared across the horizon. I watched it stretch behind telephone poles, behind the dust on my windshield. The trailer park had vanished in the rear view. No roads marked it. No signs told you where it began or ended. Just trees now. And fog. Taylor's voice came soft. "Do you think he'll follow us?" I kept my eyes on the road, but I felt the answer before I said it. I think he already did. In his way. Taylor nodded, but didn't smile. Some part of him stayed behind. Maybe some part of me too. An hour passed. Then another. Fields rolled by in slow waves. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes, reached for the coffee in the cup holder, looked once into the mirror. A boy stood on the shoulder of the road. Still. Small. Pale. His eyes were black, but he smiled. Then he disappeared. A reminder that they are always there when the sun begins to go down. They will be everywhere and nowhere. We just always had to remember how lucky we were. How lucky we let in one who loved us, and not one who desired us.
Please make sure you are subscribed and be one of the strange.